Hi, I would like to check because just now, Minister mentioned that some of the shops will actually progressively open from 12 May onwards, but we understand that from some shops yesterday they have progressively actually put up the notice that they will be open from 5th May onwards, and one of the shops are one of the bubble tea shops. So is there any criteria or consideration, or shop by shop y'all will actually decide on the different basis?
I'm not sure why some of them had gone ahead to put up that notification. It may well be that they are hoping that the things will be lifted after 4th of May, because we did say that we would review after 4th of May. But we are not opening up after 4th of May at all. As you can see from the announcement today, it will only start from the 12th of May. And even so, we have stated the categories that we will allow to open up from 12th of May onwards. And the individual shops will also be notified they need to get exemption specifically from the Ministry of Trade and Industry before they can start resuming operations. Right? So from now to 12th of May, MTI will be doing that. The broad categories will be updated, and then the specific shops will be notified as well. And if the shops have not been notified, they should not presume that they can be allowed to start operations at all.
Thank you. We actually have one final question from Janice of Business Times.
Hi, sorry for focusing on this again, but just to confirm, for the reopening of workplace premises, besides the categories you've mentioned, these will still be premises that were allowed to operate earlier in the circuit breaker before the tightening, as opposed to those that were just exempted from the start of the circuit breaker. Is that correct? So basically, if you were allowed to operate at the early part of the circuit breaker, then you may be allowed to after May 12th. But if not, you shouldn't get your hopes up, basically.
Yes, that's generally the case. So for companies that had not been allowed to operate at the start of the circuit breaker, we do not expect a lot of them to be able to resume, right? We do not expect. There may be a few, but again, we will be quite selective about this. Largely, the position post 12th of May is to go back to where we were before the tighter circuit breaker measures were in place. But even there, it's not identical. There are some companies that were operating before, which we may not want to allow because of assessment of risk and the fact that some of these places or entities may not be ready. And there may well be some entities that we think that we want to allow. They are ready, they have safeguards in place, and we can consider them as part of the essential workforce. So there will be a few at the margins, but largely we'll be going back to that position. And then on top of the entities itself, we will allow more workers to come back. Because remember, we had done a cut across the board, across many entities, to just reduce the number of workers who need to commute daily. So for some of these entities, we will allow more workers now, or a resumption of the workers that were previously cut back to start working again. But as I said just now, it's subject to these entities, the workplaces, the employers, putting in place all the necessary safeguards.
Let me take this opportunity to reiterate that the outlook remains very challenging. We cannot let our guards down. We must remain vigilant. In particular, we must continue to practice personal hygiene, high level of personal hygiene, ensure that we act responsibly in the society, in the community, and stay at home as much as we can, minimize the need to go out, and if you need to go out, only go out for essential services, essential needs, and when you do so, please wear a mask and please go out alone if possible. Protect the seniors at home and visit them if necessary, but take the necessary precautions if you do need to visit them. So I think we need to work together to continue to keep our guards up, to make sure that we are able to continue to reduce the number of cases in the community, and even as well as among the foreign workers, migrant workers as well. So I think we need to continue to work together to remain vigilant.
Yeah. just to reinforce this point, because it is so important, we are making some steps to ease the measures, right, from 12th of May onwards in particular. I hope we strongly want to call on Singaporeans and residents in Singapore not to take this as a signal that now we can slacken, we can go out, and the battle is won. It is far from over. Now, we keep saying this, it is far from over. It is going to be a long fight, and the virus can flare up again anytime. It is not possible to be on lockdown for months on end. That's not possible. So we do have to ease up on some of these measures, particularly when I think the situation is now stabilizing in the community, numbers are coming down, and it does permit us to ease up on the restrictions. But do not regard this as a signal that everything can be permitted and we can just go back to life as normal. We have to now really maintain our discipline, stay vigilant, and keep our guards up, and do everything we can, continuing to abide by the spirit of the guidelines and not just the letter of the law, which means all stay at home, avoid going out as much as possible, minimize contacts, and when you go out, do it alone. These are all still very important requirements for us to continue through the month of May, and perhaps even beyond the month of May in June, because there is still a battle out there, and we still need to stay focused on winning the fight against the virus.